So 1v1 against Goopy and MasterBel start boxes. So I'm starting here, and thanks. I love it too. I just wish I could work out the music and stuff because it seems weird. The reason I start here is because if you're starting here, and we'll see this later in the game, I can head straight across here, and Goopy comes across here, and that kind of draws this sort of a line on the map of who has what, which ideally gives me more map control. The start is maybe a little weaker because it's a 2 max start versus a 3 max start, but it doesn't make a huge amount of difference in the long term, because here you've got a larger number of expansion parts for con, so it's a tiny bit of a slower start, but it definitely scales better in the long term. I'm going with an LLT so I can walk my commander out of base ASAP, because I don't have the metal. I don't have the metal to stick him in base for any amount of time. If I stay in base, I'll just stall, which isn't great. So at this point, we're roughly equal in what we have. Goopy has an extra solar. I have an extra peewee, and he's got a couple extra fleas, but we're basically roughly the same. I've seen these fleas coming out at this point, so I have a pretty good idea of exactly what Goopy's doing. I know that he's got a bunch of fleas. I know that I only have one, so I can't fight him flea to flea. So I'm just going to set these peewees on guard. That will give Goopy a little bit of free expansion. The building an LLT there, while good, it's like with so many fleas on the map from Goopy, and so much line of sight coverage by them, it's not particularly necessary to have that there. And there I just take 2 fleas without losing any. So micro makes a difference. He won a flea because of lines and stuff. And so even though these fleas are faster, the peewees are fast enough that if I keep them right here at the base and don't forget to react, I've got about as much motion as he has, and so he lost a lot of fleas taking that out. In terms of expansion, he's starting to do free expand, which is good. He should do that. He probably shouldn't have skipped that max there. What he has kind of more or less forced me to do is put metal into LLTs as I expand. But then I've also got this essentially line of peewees that kind of really stops him from going through anywhere, any of the gaps. Those LLTs there were probably very much overkill. So even with this free expansion, okay, he's gone for an LLT. Even with this expansion, because he's been slow, he's been building LLTs, he's got all his fleas over here. trying to put pressure on me, even though I've defended a lot. What he'd be better doing is using all those fleas to just control the map, stop any of these fleas from coming through and raiding him, and just free expand. So Goopy's ahead in metal produced, but I'm significantly ahead in energy and build power. I've got 6 constructors in a base plus a nano going up. He's got 2 constructors in the base, 1400 metal stored, idle cons on the fronts, and he'll be accessing soon. So I'm not worried about this. At this point, I'm building a wall of LLTs basically, and saying it's like, I'm not going to let you come through this part of the map. I'm bringing these up with my commander so I can secure that, and I'm just throwing up LLTs in my base. I'm happy if he tries to take out anything in the middle of the map. Because what I'm trying to do is I'm just trying to secure the middle of the map now. If I can secure this point, that gives me control over basically the entire map. This was pretty bad here. I'm energy stalling. I've pulled all my army away, and then I've sent those constructors out and then just sat them there while I'm energy stalling and can't build. At this point, those peewees there are mostly useless. If I look at it, they could have gone on a raid down there, and I probably should be using fleas to establish information like that. That flea should be doing something. And so yes, I've lost now 4 constructors and 3 mexes to those peewees. That I'm about 600 metal behind, and we're neck and neck in production still. Neck and neck in production. So I've used about 1,000 more metal. I have a lot more build power. This Comet is vulnerable over here. If I'd have just put out a couple Rocco a little earlier on, I could take out those those LLTs, trap the Com, and it would be GG right there. Instead, I'm chasing after fleas with peewees, which isn't great. I'm also putting pressure on those fleas without a wall. These fleas are enough to take out that. They could possibly even take out those mexes on their own. Idle commander should be further sealing off that way. Drawing a wall there, limiting expansion. A radar up there also could be useful. And that's good because I'm sealing that off, except I really haven't drawn a good line for that. There, seal that off. If Goopy wanted to take out my LLTs, just throwing out a couple Rocketeers would have been a lot more efficient. Like, I finally thrown out Rocketeers, but they're delayed. I also don't have any radar over here, which isn't great. I'm starting to close the metal gap now. A part of it is like Goopy has idled his expansion constructors for so long. He could have probably had a massive advantage. It's not great that I'm holding those peewees back there. I'm taking, like, there's 2 peewees and I'm trying to use, like, 20 to take it out. Because I'd spread out my pawns as I did up there, they were just taken out by the fleas. That was a micro error on my part. And then I've forgotten to babysit these Rocketeers, so they've been mostly useless. But what I definitely have now is map control, and I've got a significant metal lead. So now any raiding these do, isn't a problem. I still could be pushing around there. It would be a great time to push there, considering these are gone. In fact, I'd have enough pawns to take this on right now. If I had my commander up there pushing, these could take out those. And I have that under radar too, so I should be able to see that. What am I looking at right now? I'm trying to get rid of that. These totally should be doing something. Idlecon. Also don't have as much radar as I could have up there, but I don't really need it. It would just be really nice. That was poor micro. They should have come around and regrouped. Instead they got numbered. This should have formed a line this way earlier before it moved up there. And I could still be using fleas to probe this area, keep the expansion down. That's also entirely open. If I had a radar down there, then I could see that. And so now I'm behind in energy, even though I'm ahead in metal. So we've sort of traded positions from earlier in the game. 15k metal is 6 stumpies? 6 or 7 stumpies worth of metal, which is, he has 12 there, so it would have brought me up in par. So if I had that energy, then I could be on par. That could have lost me the game right there. Because I'm down on energy, I'm not producing my army, even though I've got a metal lead. That was the wrong line to draw. I should have drawn that line. If I'd have drawn that line, I could have fought that battle and taken out a bunch of the peewees away from the stumpies. Yeah, I headed right in the middle of it there. I should have come at the end from the start. When I ended up going in the end, I did a bunch of damage appropriately. But until then it was a waste. And these stumpies were out of the battle. And I don't have radar down here, so I can't see this expansion that's going on. That was a huge mistake. Fortunately, I've got radar up there finally. Those peewees shouldn't have gone there. They were going into the middle of an army. What I'm trying to do at the moment is I'm trying to deny those reses access, but what they should be doing is coming around there and reclaiming over here. That should come back down here. Yeah, just trying to keep that line perpendicular to his. Just need to do that, make sure I do that, make sure I don't let him do that. Just keep moving that line. It's probably time enough I stopped sending peewees into this battle. They're not anything other than cannon fodder. And they haven't been for a while, so mostly as soon as the Stumpies came into the battle, I should have pulled the peewees out and gone raiding elsewhere. There should be a radar down here. Idle. This is okay. Finally I've got a radar. A single Rocketeer could be handling this. I'll later send a bunch of peewees, but I should have sent a single Rocketeer. That raid was stupid. It's Goopy's turn to drive into the middle of my army. Thank you very much. It's hard to see where I have radar and where I don't. That's a real pain. I wish that was more obvious. I probably should have spread that out and surrounded him there instead of just clumping together with him. Getting good reclaim. This probably shouldn't come up there. In fact, they should have been building beamers or something along there to help secure that metal rack. And they shouldn't have gone in. They should have continued to just secure that metal. The plus with peewees is they get through it faster though. But also should be, this could be handled by fleas down there if I had like a radar or something. Or just, if I just had fleas and used them to scout. Probably even Jeffy at that, rovers, because they're faster. And here I make an intentional decision to let him take that, because what that's doing is that's letting him hand me his commander, basically. It's taking his army all the way out there. I shouldn't have done that. What I should have done here was I should have gone straight for the commander. And instead I changed my mind and was like, I'm just going to let him come to my pork. And he's just going to find this hard line and not be able to push through it. I knew I couldn't chase him out there. He'd destroy that anyway. And so I just wanted to keep my army in a more opportune location. This again, I need radar. I'm not expanding into these locations. And I've gone T2 now. Because part of why I let him just go out there was because it gave me time to build a T2 lab and put a couple bulldogs out before he could make it back to my base and do stuff. But... oh no, I've still got double the resources in. Wow, double. I didn't realize I was that far ahead. And then just these beamers. I should have let him get to the beamers before I came in, and I should have like headed behind him, because I've got the beamers here stopping him. Head behind him, try to push him back into the beamers, or just, because running away from an army is the most efficient way to do things. So I just get behind him and run away, because he's got either the option to be trapped against the beamers or to chase me out, or just stay there and get picked off by my bulldogs. So that's what I should have done. I should have trapped him in there. And yeah. I need radar, like a radar vehicle or something probably, instead of building a static radar. Because if I go with a... And again, yeah, I'm letting him send his army up there because I'm like, I'm going to lose that, sure. But that's going to let me take out these efficiently. And then once I've taken out that, I know the commander's still there. Or I'm pretty sure the commander's still there. I'm going to come through, take that out, push towards the base, and then I can clean that up later. It's kind of like a queen trade. And because I know I'm ahead, I know I can get away with it. I just should have switched to Panthers earlier because these Bulldogs aren't going to make it up there. And the earlier I get the Panthers out, the less I can lose. Yeah. I can. I do have a radar. I built a radar up there finally. And yeah, the Panthers are just stopping their expansion. And because it's drawn those Peewees so far in, if the game hadn't ended there, those Peewees are so far in that I can just take them, I can just push them back and destroy them, because the Panthers are faster. And so even though he's taken out all that metal, I've taken out all those Peewees, which is a huge metal cost and just removes his ability to raid other areas of the map. So it probably wasn't the best trade, considering, because that was a lot of metal I lost to that, but my Bulldogs weren't really going to be able to chase it down anyway. Knowing that's such a choke point, I should have had a lot more defense there. Although then he just goes through the crater. Still, I can just put a bunch of defense there. And... where's it called? We have beamers. So if I put like a bunch of stuff just spread out across there, it kind of covers both locations and forces him to go to like right to one side of it if he does. Still sort of suboptimal, but at least it's better than nothing, because then it spreads them out, it slows them down. Yeah.